Hello. I want this to be my best life ever. I may have said that before, but I really mean it now.
That can't be, because it's just going to get better and better. Don't top out now.
Okay.
Expansion says it has to improve.
Okay. So when I'm in the vortex, I call it the garden. And when I'm in there, I feel source. I just play. I just want to play. More play, more play, more create.
May we ask you a question?
Yes?
How do you get there? Does a condition that feels good bump you in, or can you go in anytime you want?
I'm so glad you asked, because that's my question of where I'm going with this. Okay. So,
well, it's all right to just focus on good thing after good thing after good thing after good thing, because you can perpetuate getting into the vortex or getting into the receptive mode. You can perpetuate it by just focusing on the good, and you can maintain it.
Well, here's what's happened. So I had this idea, July. I've had your books and things for 10, 12 years, never picked them up until October. Okay. So I had this idea. I'm like, great idea, brilliant, love it.
All right.
Didn't do anything.
But let's talk about this. So we want you to focus just for a moment on the feeling of the moment of that great idea.
Yes.
And we want to explain to you what happened.
Yes.
So your vortex has been churning it. In other words, it's been growing. They're ready for you. So then, for some reason, probably unknown to you, you were in the receptive mode. Bam! You got the idea.
Right.
But you're not yet mastering being in the receptive mode, so it didn't last. But you know that feeling of it when it came? That feeling is sustainable. It just takes a little bit of practice. That's all.
Right.
That's all. You follow all of that?
So, in meditation, all the things that you wrote about, in meditation, it got even more clear. I pulled this piece and I'm like, oh, that's it, that's it. So I got that, I researched it, I did all this, and didn't act on it. Okay.
Well, it's all right. When you're in the receptive mode long enough and you've sustained it long enough, your acting on it is undeniable. When you've found that receptive mode and the ideas occurred and you've maintained it for a while, you can't not act. So if you didn't feel like acting, all it means is you didn't maintain that. You probably this. I want it. Can I do it? I'd like to do it. I don't know. And research will do that to you. Mm-hmm. Research will kill your dream every time.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. So it was accumulating. It was accumulating.
Building?
Yes. Okay. So finally in November, I feel like I get this push, like, we gave you the idea, come on, so I'm like,
never like that. It's never like that. It's
well,
never like that.
Here's my idea of push. My idea of push is like, it's an encouragement. It's not a push. It's just like such encouragement.
Momentum.
Yes.
Momentum.
Okay, so I did it. I acted on it. I did it. I got the supplies. I got this. I got that. So here's my question.
Didn't turn out right. Didn't turn out well yet. Esther too is coming to really understand receptive mode and receptive mode. In other words, the receptive mode from the momentum of everything that's in her vortex, and the receptive mode from the momentum of unwanted things. So not long ago, she was at a new house that she's purchased in another state, and it's a big property, and there were so many things to do, lots of things that she didn't know when she bought it. She said afterward, if she'd known all of those things, she might not have purchased it. She's glad she didn't know those things, because she wouldn't have purchased it, and she's glad she purchased it. So you're sort of following the train of her thinking. So now it's time for her to leave. It's time for her to get on the road. There are a series of events, and she needs to be in another place to do those events. So it's time for her to leave, and there was no one standing there to supervise what was ongoing. So she was feeling shortage of time, shortage of spreading herself too thin. She was in the receptive mode of overwhelmment. And from that receptive mode, she got a great idea. A man walked in who had been working there, and he presented himself and said, I was wondering if you need someone to kind of stick around and oversee some things. And Esther thought, well, this is guidance from heaven. This is really a good idea. And so she said, let me think about it. She thought about it for a very brief period of time and said, yes, let's do this. Turned out to not be a good idea. at all, not even close to a good idea, a rather terrible idea, which perfectly matched how she was feeling. She was overwhelmed, she was overextended. It turned out exactly like it felt at the beginning of it. Then later, in the same place, Esther's up here, soaring, thrilled, in love with life, in love with this place. And another person presented himself to her, and she said, yes. And oh, is that turning out wonderfully. And so just because it feels like inspiration is coming, it's really helpful for you to acknowledge what was the vibrational stance from which this got started. And if you look back on your experiences, you can tell. In other words, it's better to do it with things that are happening now. But you've had experiences where if you will think about it and realize what was going on in your life and how you were feeling, why that relationship turned out the way it did, because you hear about rebound relationships. In other words, your heart is broken, and so you go and then everything's that way. What mode of reception are you in? Doesn't that explain everything to you? Or doesn't it? Explains everything to us.
So when the idea came, it was like downstreaming, it was live streaming, it was...
Doesn't mean it wasn't a good idea. When something seemed like a good idea and then later it doesn't turn out so good, if you're sure that you were here, that it was flowing, all it means is, you know what buyer's remorse often is? Buyer's remorse is not that what you bought was the wrong thing for you to buy. It just means you're not in the same vibrational place you were when you decided to buy it. All it indicates is a fluctuation in your vibration or in your attention. You can return to that